Welcome to XV1. For critical review with a brief reaction is Jordan Maxwell, Reptilian Presence. And the reaction is more focused on the reptilian art complex within inside of us, this blind spot, the blind spot that's super suppressed, the blind spot that can have a pro-live, objective morality conversation to a lamb chop and feel nothing, feel good about it, and how that very well may be this source of all the evil in the world, this inner reptilian devil that can kick around a stolen life in the shape of a ball, stolen lives that can and not even notice it. The blind spot and how we treat humans as disposable, how it bleeds over, how it bleeds over into our treatment for humans and truth and light and the birthright and everything. How it's all bleeding over because it's unchecked, it's suppressed. And here's Jordan Maxwell.
We've been looking at the subject, both Paula and I, for a long time, talking with authors and researchers and people and looking through the files on a particular subject that I think is not only interesting, but if there is something to it, which I think there is, then it's really very important right now, and that is the presence of something that we call today reptilian presence on the earth. We are obviously all hearing a lot about the reptile aliens, and David Icke talks about the reptilian presence around the world. I happen to believe that that is true, or I should say that there is something to this idea that there are extraterrestrial life forms here, and that some of them may be extraterrestrial reptilians. I've got many ideas about that because I've heard so many stories from so many professional researchers and government and military and talk about this subject with different people, especially astronauts and scientists. So I'm pretty convinced that there is something to this idea that there are reptile aliens on the earth. I've just heard way too many stories from way too many people who are very legitimate and de jure and real professional people who have told me about their one-on-one experiences with reptile aliens. Happily, I've never come across one, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. I don't throw babies out with the bathwater, like our so-called nonsensical but so-called science community that decide that they haven't found something that's important. If they haven't found it, then it's not important. Only until they find something is it important. Well, the same thing is true in archaeology and paleontology and the sciences. Generally speaking, all of these supposedly disciplines of knowledge, we always come up with the same problem. Unless some scientist who is working for a particular university and is towing the party line and he's worked his way up to the top scientist at some big university. Why? Because he has learned over the years what to kiss and when and who, and so this way he gets his paycheck, and so science has become a religion, not scientific at all. It's a religion. And scientists have got their holy books and their holy prophets and their great prophetic pronouncements, which we all see all the time. Scientists making big proclamations, pontificating like the Pope. They're the ultimate authority on the earth for everything. And then we find out 3 years later that what they said 3 years ago is now bullshit, and it doesn't apply to anything. But at the time, they were the absolute ultimate authority. And then what they're saying today, in another 3 or 4 years, we'll find out that that was bullshit. And so the bottom line is, scientists are nothing more than a religion. It's a fraternal order. It's like the police protect each other, judges protect each other, firemen protect each other. Well, scientists protect each other, and they don't know what they're talking about. They haven't got the faintest idea, and they're not about to look at any real, legitimate facts. And unless they find something themselves that their university can claim, and that they can claim that they found it, if you found it and you're not in a university, then it's not important. And the bottom line is, well, that's not exactly the case. It's actually the case is that if you find something on the earth that the scientists didn't know about, first of all, they can't explain it. They have no way of explaining the phenomena, whatever it is you found, or whatever it is you've discovered. If the scientists cannot explain it away, they'll make up something to explain it away. If you talk about UFOs or flying saucers, the scientists will tell you, well, no, it's just a flock of geese, or it's just swamp gas, and that's all there is to it. And then they will all chuckle and laugh and think that's funny, and then they go move on. And the bottom line is they're being paid a salary. The government's watching them. Their universities are watching them. And if they see something out of place and begin to look seriously at some of the things which are right in front of your eyes, they're going to lose their job. They're going to lose their paycheck. And then they're going to have to go out and go to work like everybody else. And so the same problem we have in religion, the same identical situation in religion, the preachers and the clergy, they are a religion to start with. And they protect each other. They are pushing the same routine that all the other preachers are. So the bottom line is that, I've said this before, that religion should be, theology and religion should be a science, meaning the extraordinary world that we live in with all of the, for lack of a better term, spiritual things which happen in the world, all these strange and wonderful and unexplainable phenomena that's part of our world should be some kind of a scientific explanation for God or for the universe or for the spiritual presence on earth of phenomena that we can explain. So I'm saying religion should be a science endeavor, while on the other hand, the science world is a religion. And it's not scientific at all. You have no idea in the world to what degree the scientific community, in America especially, you have no idea to what degree science is crawling on its knees to its masters who pay them their checks so that they can be very important people and eat their steak dinners and drive fancy cars and speak at big events and make lots of money speaking and promoting themselves, when actually it's really a dirty situation. It's really, really very embarrassing that science is giving it. It's like a prostitute. Science has sold itself as a prostitute to its masters within government. They do whatever they are told by the government, by the universities. Universities are financed by the international elites. Our country is in trouble. Our whole world is in trouble because we are not intellectually honest. We're not very well read. Thank God for the web and for the handful. There is a select handful of people in America who are referred to as scientists or astronomers, etc. There's just a small, tiny handful that are actually, in point of fact, scientists. They look at the facts and deal with the facts. And so, I've heard I've been reading some articles and hearing some scientists talking about that Stephen Hawking from England, when he is on stage or on camera, and was sitting there watching him on YouTube or whatever, and he's sitting in the wheelchair, and he's using some sort of a mechanical device, computerized device, to speak and through. And he always has a couple of scientists next to him helping him, and to help him do what he's doing. And then he will speak, and then it comes through the computer, and you will hear the computer voice. Well, I have heard and been reading some scientists who are saying that what he is saying into the computer when Stephen Hawking is talking is not what is coming out of the computer, that it's already been programmed to say what the masters who own this planet want him to say. Not what he actually said. You can't hear what he actually says. He speaks into some kind of a computer, and the computer, translates the words, and then you can hear it. The computer is talking, and supposedly saying what he's saying. But some of the scientists around him are saying, no, what he is saying is one thing, but what the computer has been programmed to put out is something totally different. And so when you hear these important scientists and physicists and all these other highly paid lackeys of the world system that we live under, just understand that virtually nothing that you have been told, nothing you have been shown, nothing that has come out of government, religion, science, nothing that's come out of banking, commerce, educational institution, none of it is based on fact. There's an entire world system of lies, deception, and manipulation, and implications are absolutely astounding. This is why today it's finally beginning to appear to the human race that's been asleep for all these years, that big government with all of their big and important buildings and all of their statues and all of the accoutrements of power in Washington, D.C., and the state houses in the states, all of this gaudy Roman display of political power and money is now falling apart at the seams, and the entire superstructure of Western civilization, both religion, government, commerce, science, all of the institutions man-made which have combined to we call Western civilization, is totally corrupt. Lies, deception, money grubbing, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And therefore government is, in point of fact, now beginning to show itself for the first time as being what it has always been: organized crime. Criminal syndicates. We call them Democrat, Republican. No, they're just criminal syndicates. And they are operating in the open, and people have no idea in the world what all of this is, where it's taking us and where we're going. But it's now beginning to look like the entire Western civilization is crumbling, because it's overwhelming now in the face of everyone who's awake that there is nothing but lies, deception, manipulation, exploitation, So the world that we live in is falling apart because it should. It has to. Because, there are universal laws that state if you are building on sand, don't bellyache when the hurricane comes and washes it all away. Well, that's what's happening in America and in Europe and now ultimately around the world. The entire superstructure of the world of mankind is now in its last and final days of lying and deception and so-called BS, which is religion and science and commerce and churches and synagogues and mosque. I mean, all of this is absolutely criminality, stupidity. But now America is beginning to see the whole system from day one was corrupt, and now there's all kinds of bloodshed, violence, murder, drug addiction, alcoholism, human slavery. It's a very, very, very corrupt and bad scene that the human race has finally come to. But it's only expected by people who are in the know, people who know what's going on and have always known. I've been looking at this world situation for some 65 years, and I was talking about the things which are coming on the earth. Some 55 years ago, I was speaking at conferences and doing lectures back in 1960 on the corruption in government, the secret societies and banking and religion and who runs the churches and where they're getting their money. And the entire superstructure, as I said, of the entire Western civilization is crumbling. And it's well that it should. It's about time. And so with that, I would then say, when you come across a subject like reptilian aliens here on the earth, you better go back and do your homework, because if it sounds crazy, it's probably true. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. So I am totally convinced that the world that we live in is being run by entities which are not human. That's my personal belief. I don't think that the people who are in power, I'm not talking about the Bushes and the Obamas and all the other goofballs. I'm talking about the real powers behind the world scene. I'm talking about what is called the one institution for sure, is what has been referred to as the Nazi International. The conglomerate of international elite bankers meeting in secret in Argentina, in Europe, in Austria, in the mountains. Once you begin to see how this earth really operates and what's actually going on and who's been doing it and who's been at the helm of this for thousands of years, even before America was founded, it's just a very frightening picture when you finally wake up to find out that the human race is being led down a dark alley for a long time, and now it's finally getting to the point with our technology that we are collapsing like the Roman Empire. But the problem is we're taking the whole damn world with us. And the people are not able to do anything. The people are powerless. They all know something's wrong, but nobody can do anything about it. I mean, you can cry and complain, but you can't do anything with it. And the reason why is because knowledge is power. And I've been saying this for some 50 years. Unless you have knowledge about how a thing actually works, then you're not going to be able to do anything to help it or fix it. And so that's where we are today. We are now, as a human family on the earth, being led by criminals, by mentally disordered, dysfunctional, mentally deranged criminals. We call that government, we call them clergy, we call them popes and clergymen and priests and law enforcement and banking. No, it's a criminal empire. And this is why I think that the scriptures that we call the Christian scriptures in the Bible have some validity to it. When we read things in the scriptures that say things like the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one, the implications of the term is that the entire earth is involved in something very dark, and it's evil. Well, my God, you don't have to be an astronaut to figure that out today. Every country in the world is now locked into violence, revolutions, bloodshed, money, corruption. And of course the religions of the world, both Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, have never had a mind. I would not say they've lost their mind. They never had a mind. The whole idea of child sex and child porn and violence and revolutions and all the dirty, filthy stuff that goes on behind the scenes in the underbelly of criminality in the world, that's today we call that religion and government and business. So eventually people are going to finally wake up and discover that our world that we're living in is fastly now beginning to now literally fall apart. And something very bad is coming on this earth. I don't care what how you figure it, something is coming. And somebody is in charge of this darkness. And somebody's causing these things to happen. And again, I'm saying this because I am totally convinced after looking at it and talking to all the kind of people I have over the years and examining this subject, I'm totally sure that I'm absolutely right, that we humans on the earth are being led by some dark other world, not supernatural, but preternatural. Preternatural means not of this world. Some other kind of intelligence is already here, most likely has been here for millions of years, right among us. And they manipulate us, they lead us, they give us our religions, they give us our religious beliefs, they give us our political concepts. They have put together our economic order in the world. Somebody very evil has been running for God knows how long, been running a very evil, bloodthirsty world. I'm ashamed to even be a part of this mess right now. But I see it better because at 76 years old, I've been around the world many times. I know what I'm talking about. I couldn't care less who I'm offending. It doesn't matter who I offend. The truth is the human race is in trouble. And it's going to get a hell of a lot worse real soon. You have no idea in the world what's really coming very soon. It's going to be a catastrophe because you've got too many millions and millions of people who collectively have got an IQ of 70 that have no idea in the world what to do or how to do anything. You have to feed them. All they know how to do is reproduce and bring in more babies, and those babies have babies, and more babies until you got 7.5 billion people collectively with an IQ of 70, and the entire world is falling apart. Crime, criminal syndicates, organized crime, government syndicates, banking. I think you're finally getting the point. The human race is in trouble. And that brings me back to my original idea that I wanted to talk about. This whole idea that the world is being ruled by a preternatural powers on this earth. Something which is not human is guiding us and driving us into insanity. And when people like David Icke talk about reptilian aliens, well, there's a hell of a lot of documentation in religions and governments and all kinds of institutions that have got a lot of information on that one subject. And there have been some really interesting authors that Paul Tice and I would like to talk about tonight. Hopefully Paul is with us. Are you now with us, Paul?
Yeah, I am here, Jordan.
Okay, good. So, I was talking about reptilians many years ago. And John Rhodes, a dear friend of mine, John Rhodes, he's the one that kind of got everybody started talking about reptilians even before I was doing it. I think that's probably where I first heard it heard the ideas expressed was from John Rhodes, who was a very dear friend. But he's extremely knowledgeable on this subject and other similar subjects. So, wanted to talk with Paul Tice tonight. Again, he's the owner of the Book Tree bookstore and publisher. He's a publisher, but he also owns a bookstore in San Diego. And perhaps you could tell everyone where to find you, Paul, with your phone numbers and emails and address and everything. Tell us all about your business and where you are first before we talk any further about this subject. Because I want people to know about your bookstore and the work you're doing, because I consider it to be absolutely phenomenal what you've been able to accomplish and what you're actually dealing with, and the information that you have at the bookstore and what you have been publishing is extraordinary stuff, and I want people to know about it. So tell us all about who you are, the bookstore, and what you're doing.
Yeah, well, just briefly, we've got our offices here in the bookstore location here in San Diego. So if you're local to the area, we've got a store, and you can come in and hang out and basically get 3316 Adams Avenue is where we're located, and anytime you're in the area, we're open here noon to 7 Tuesday through Saturday, and we have a mail order catalog. If you call our 1-800 number, it's 1-800-700-TREE. It's our policy to send a free catalog to anybody in the world that asks for it, because we've got all of your books in there. We've got all of the books of a number of different people that we've been talking about. Some of the most fascinating people that we've ever had the opportunity to meet, and it's all collected in one place. All the books that we've put out on this kind of subjects, and then we found what the best of other sources that in order to supplement the catalog. So we've got a lot of stuff like that for people interested, and so on.
Well, the kind of materials that you've collected over the years is just astonishing. All these old out-of-print books that both government and the science industry and governmental powers do not want the people having in their hands. The United States government is not interested in people educating themselves and asking too many questions and beginning to find out what the real tune is in this world, where we've actually come from and who's really running this planet, and where did the ancient religions come from, and all of this stuff. Nobody in this country in government wants the American people to wake up and find out what's really going on.
Yeah, a lot of bookstores. Yeah,
so important.
A lot of bookstores and other entities that specialize in this kind of material are no longer around. I mean, we're finding out people call us from the Midwest and from all over the country, and they just say, "Hey, there's no place that anywhere near here that we could get this kind of stuff." And a lot of people will call up from different parts of the country saying that, if I talked about this stuff with any of my neighbors here, they think I'm crazy. But in order to investigate what's really going on, you have to look for it. Otherwise, you're stuck with primetime TV and in a liquor store on every corner almost, and they just would rather have you pacified and be quiet and our goal
Well,
here is
that's always been the case. Is that the powers that be in America are not interested at all, period, in having anybody thinking outside of what is considered to be the method of operation and the educational system. They don't care if you're ignorant and ill-informed and being ripped off because of your education. They don't care about that. As long as you are what the government calls in compliance.
Well, what we're trying to
compliance.
Yeah, because, we're trying to find out what's really going on, and all of the greatest thinkers in the world, whoever were before, we came along in the modern day, there's very few people like that alive today, so it's best to go back and find out what all of this stuff really means, and we want to find out what's going on. Where do we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? What's, all of the bigger questions, and there's fewer and fewer places now where you can investigate that sort of thing, and because basically, they just want to entertain you rather than educate you, and so, but if you really want to find,
it's very difficult to control what people do and think and how they live. Is very difficult if you want to be an Al Capone in government. You want to be a big mobster running the country. It's very difficult for you to control highly educated people.
True.
Because they're not, they find out that you didn't even finish high school, and you're going to present yourself to the world as a great dictator in a country with people who have PhDs and doctorates. They're not going to listen to you. So the best way to, if you are nothing more than just a slimy criminal, and got the money, and the people with real money are backing you because you're a criminal like they are, and so they're financing you so that when you get into power, you can pull off stuff for them that they couldn't do themselves. And so they will finance you, and you don't have to have intelligence. You don't have to have any morality or any scruples. You don't have to have nothing. Just get out there and shine your shoes and smile and wave at the audience, and we'll get you elected. And when you get elected, you just make sure you do what we tell you to do. And so that's the Obamas of the world. That's the George Bushes of the world. All of the people who are serving their masters from behind the scenes. So, like you said, government is not religion, government, commerce is not interested in an educated people who ask too many questions. Just go to your job, drink your beer, and watch a silly-ass ball game and your silly sitcoms on television. And that's all you need to know. You get out of line and start thinking too much.
We get people coming into the store here of all ages, and they say, and all of a sudden they're at some point in one person's life, all of a sudden it may click, where all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, there's way more going on here. We've got like older people in their 60s and 70s coming in saying, I've got a guy who's calling us like three, 4 times a week, ordering books because he's a minister and he had a stroke, and he has a whole congregation of people, and now he's realized instead of like preaching all this different stuff, he's going back and reading the original creation story, the Enuma Elish. He's investigating all of this older stuff of where religion really came from. This guy's like 70 years old, 72 or so, and he's just hungry for the information. But that's just one example. I mean, all of a sudden something clicks if you're lucky enough in your life, and all of a sudden this is interesting stuff. This is fascinating. If you're curious at all in the least about what this is all about and who you really are, then all of a sudden something opens up, and with fewer and fewer places to go for that. I mean, we're filling a good void here, and I'm just glad that you're, giving me the chance to tell people a little bit about us, because people will call us and say, my real education never even started until I found you guys. So,
well, that's the point I've been wanting to make, is that there is a ongoing, professionally financed, well-oiled machine on the earth. And that machine is owned by a handful of people, and the bottom line is, at the end of the day, to keep the people occupied. Keep the people ignorant, ill-informed, make damn sure you have plenty of liquor stores on every corner, make sure that liquor is everywhere, and make sure that if they're into drugs, that you can get the drugs right there on your home street. So make sure you got plenty of drugs and alcohol and sex and television and sitcoms and
now
ball
there's
games.
Slow process of marijuana legalization throughout the country because all the states are broke. They got no place else to really turn to get like a fast buck in order to get out of the hole that they've dug themselves into. So they figure, well, let's push the criminals out of the way and move into this territory.
Of course.
And so there's all this, arranging so that, if you're going to be selling it, you've got to pay a pretty large portion to the government and stuff. But, that's the way it goes. I mean, you want to live in a free country, then you got to be free to do your drugs and drink your alcohol, right?
Well, of course. And not only that, but it's just a business. And,
But, if that's your thing, that's fine. I'm not really knocking it because
I'm not either. I'm just saying it's just a business. The world is a business. Just like the intro to my show every week, is taken from different motion pictures. But the world is a business. It's just money. And
it's just that everybody's got decisions to make, and we're just trying to give a different chance for people to make a different decision and find something fascinating and intriguing and meaningful rather than some of the other things that are being offered, and you can see the direction in which things are going, and a lot of times it's a necessity because money has become our god, and in order to appease the gods and to basically keep things running on this monetary system, you've got to create more and more things to create the money that to get you out of the hole that you're digging. So, that's what we're up against right now. So I think if we educate ourselves in certain ways, and especially in spiritual ways, then we get to the core of our being. Suddenly it may dawn on you that's engaging in a lot of this kind of stuff might not be the best thing, And
the other thing, Paul, is that you don't have to be an astronaut or a brain surgeon to look around just in America, supposedly the most progressive or intelligent nation on the earth and all of that, most powerful empire. But look around this country and what it has become. And the idea I'm working toward is that the people of this country today are bored. They are mad and angry at the situations that they're having to live with, while the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And so the young people today, and this is very important, the young people today have nothing to aspire to. Nothing that excites them except maybe sex and fast cars and drinking.
Well, they're walking into a spiritually bankrupt world.
That's it. Totally ignorant, ill-informed, unread, bankrupt, ignorant world. And it's collapsing. The whole world now is collapsing because they've gone the wrong way. America has lost its way. It's lost its jobs. It's lost its homes. It's lost its freedoms. It's lost its intellectual capacity. And now the only thing left to lose in America is your mind. So now people are losing their mind and doing all kinds of crazy things and criminality. So what I'm saying is that the human family is actually hardwired and designed to have the ability to have a brain, have a spiritual life to the human life that we live, and to educate ourselves to how we got here. Who are we? Where do we come from? What is the universe out there? It's just an extraordinary human world that we live in. but people don't know anything about it, and it's just boring. So since people do not understand what's going on, nobody's ever told them how government really works. They can't understand how come nothing seems to work for them. So they turn to alcoholism. They turn to drugs. They turn to entertainment. They turn to violence in the streets. They turn to all kinds of alcoholism and drug abuse and gangs and wars and violence until finally it's a breakdown of human society. We're looking at today, the world of mankind is looking at the 5th century AD with the complete and utter collapse of the Roman Empire. But the problem is, with our technology, America, when she goes, and she's on her way, and when she goes, is going to suck down the entire world of mankind through banking, education, business. All of it is going to collapse. And when it does, God help the human race, because you got hundreds of millions of people who do not have a clue as to why they're even here. And thank God, that they have a job to go to and food to eat. But if something happens to that system where there are no more jobs and there is no more food, my God, what is going to happen to the human family? So that's why I consider that knowledge is power. And when you begin to open your mind, and you've heard me say it before, if your mind's like a parachute, don't work if it's not open. Once you open your mind and find out where the religions and the churches that you go to, where those religions really came from and what they're actually teaching, that you didn't know at all. You just were going along to get along like everybody else, never for a moment ever suspecting where your church teachings have really come from. And if you're Jewish, you think that you are God's chosen people, but then you begin to look at the actual history of the human race, and then you begin to see where Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and other religions, all the other little break-off religions, where they have all come from. And I will guarantee you, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism are collapsing all around the world. And in its place is going to be nothing more than barbaric, raping, murder, violence, because the people have not been taught to think in terms of spiritual values.
Yeah,
and
unless we wake up. And some of the books that I've written, I talk about the fact that there's an awakening on the horizon if we choose to embrace it.
Yeah, that's true.
And
right.
Because, you look at history, and we've actually, there's certain indicators which show that there is hope for people to have a better understanding of what's going on. I mean, we just, there's, in some cases, there is a bit more compassion with certain people. More people are people with money are more inclined to step in and help those who are starving or having some problems somewhere in the world. We're developing a little bit more of a compassionate attitude towards others. And some of the biggest billionaires in the world have gotten together and professed to give most of their money away because they're concerned. And so if the average person, even like we don't have that power, but if the average person can come to an understanding about how compassion works and why what we're supposed to be learning on this journey, because if we can awaken ourselves or wake up, then the whole world will, the whole world can change, and it's either going to go in one direction or the other.
Well, this is why I'm saying that the work you've done by putting together not only your publishing operation, which you are massively now publishing around the world, but not only your publishing, but the bookstore itself. And what you have done with your life and your work is phenomenal, and I understand that, and that's why I want other people to know about it, because I know people are not only ignorant, ill-informed and unread, but they're also angry and frustrated because they know something's wrong, but they don't know what it is. So I'm saying that to the world that's listening today, You need to see the kind of intelligent wisdom, knowledge, research, all of the strangest wonders of the world that has been hidden from you by your government, by your churches, by your religions. And you need to wake up and discover what humanity really is. And that kind of information is in books and lectures and audio, video, books, lectures, and that's what Paul Tice has collected. Just massive amount of ancient history, ancient religions, the occult world of knowledge, where things have come from, why we believe what we believe. It's just a phenomenal collection of wisdom and knowledge that he's been working on pretty much all his life. And I know that because I was with him for a long time, and I've been trying to do the same thing, wake people up to where the knowledge is. And I would suggest that one of the first places I would point people to, if you're looking for really interesting stuff you've never heard before about your religions, about your government, about your whole world around you, it would be the Book Tree bookstore in San Diego. It's a big operation where he's now publishing all kinds of out of print books from the 1800s, etc., 1900s, books that have been passed over. We find them in old libraries and old bookstores and then have them reprinted. So you just be amazed at how much you don't know when you look at the what Paul has been publishing. And I just want everybody to know about that.
There are answers, yeah.
Yeah. The company is The Book Tree. And so tell us again about where people can find you and on the web and what you're doing and phone numbers and anything. And tell the people, because what you're doing is so important.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's thebooktree.com. A lot of people forget the at the beginning, but it's thebooktree.com. And we're actually redoing the entire website now. It's not working all that great, but we've got somebody that's decided to step up and help us out, and we're going to have some, check on it in, another 2-3 weeks. And you can go on there now and just see mostly all the books that we carry. It's thebooktree.com. Mm-hmm. And our 800 number, 24 hours a day, just call up and we'll send you a catalog free any place in the world. Just give us a call. I guess the 800 number only works in the U.S., but it's 1-800-700-8733. Good way to remember it is 1-800-700-TREE. If you're outside the country, it's area code 619-280-1263. And we're just trying to do the best we can. You and the person we talked about last week, Jack Barringer, had a profound influence on my life. You opened up my mind, and I had been a rare books collector all my life, and I was able to return some of that knowledge that you had originally shared with me. And we've been doing this together for 25, 30 years at least.
Yep. Yeah, at least that. And I've always been interested in things which are hidden, treasures, all kinds of strange treasures that somebody stumbles upon by chance and finds out something that is mind-boggling. You find some chest with gold and silver that no one knew existed, that's been buried for hundreds of years.
And we've collected
in your backyard, and in your backyard, you find out something's been buried 500 years ago, and it just by chance happens to be in your backyard.
And we've collected all that kind of stuff here based on, the amazing people that we've been fortunate enough to associate ourselves with over the years. And, we used to hang out in Manly Hall's library. That was a treasure trove in itself right there.
Oh, of course it was. Absolutely. Incredible man, Manly Palmer Hall. Absolutely incredible man. And his work was astounding. But I started out talking about the Reptilians. You have a couple of books and some people that you and I know. And what are some of the books that you would recommend people who are interested in this whole subject that's been known for many, many years by academics at the top of the world? But the people, generally speaking, the people on the street, they're not aware of. But if you want to wake up and find out what the masters who own this planet, what they really know and what they're really doing, where can the people go for this kind of knowledge when it's dealing with the reptilian presence on the earth?
Well, we published a book in 1999 and called Flying Serpents and Dragons, the story of mankind's reptilian past. And
say it again.
Flying Serpents and Dragons, the story of mankind's reptilian past. And in fact, it's been recommended by actually David Icke's recommended it to everybody for years. And from the day that we published it almost 20 years ago, sales have never dropped on this book. It's all word of mouth that people just say, yeah, you got to read this book. It's amazing.
That's right.
The author was a cryptologist in World War II, where he decrypted enemy signals, and the guy was brilliant. And he decided to go back in history and decrypt all of the old ancient documents to find out, what really happened back then. And so he came up with the fact that, we had an outside influence from, reptilian type influences. You've got the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And
of course,
when you look at throughout all of the cultures in the world, the one motif or the one symbol is a serpent, which is revered in all of the different cultures worldwide. In fact, in the Western world, the serpent is seen as a negative influence, whereby in virtually every other country, it's positive. But at the same time,
even on the Pharaoh's headdress in ancient Egypt was the head of a serpent, the head of the snake.
Yeah, and people might say, oh well, the serpents were everywhere in the ancient world, all over the world, so people would revere it and worship it throughout all countries. But I mean, you've got birds that were all over the world, you've got fish that are all over the world. Why is it the serpent? Why is that? And there are a number of really good references that will tell you that there was something going on back then on a really...
Well, and not only that, but like you said, there's a number of good reference works, not just some novels by some people who are mildly interested. No, people back in the 1700s and 1800s were breaking new ground, looking at the scientific and hidden scientific implications of reptile aliens and what was going on, and it shows you from the ancient writings of the ancient world, from India, from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. The great writers and researchers back in 300, 400, 500 years ago were researching this subject, and today all we know is football and basketball and drinking your beer and watch TV.